Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste to all. We are on the 12th verse in the 4th chapter. We haven't seen the last two lines. We will do that today and also perhaps go a little further. So we'll chant the verse and then take it from there. Yo devanam prabhavaschodbhavascha vishvadhipo rudro maharshihi hiranyagarbham pashyata jagamanam sano buddhya shubhaya samyunaktu. So we have seen the first two lines. Yo devanam prabhavaha cha udbhavaha cha, that which is the source of all beings and who is the source of everything that is effulgent, because that source is self-effulgent. And that Bhagavan is Vishwadhipaha, that because of which the universe exists, the Lord of the universe, who is Maharshihi, means the all-knowing one, who sees everything, who knows everything. We've seen that. And then Rudraha, this is what I said. Rudraha means the one who makes you cry, and the one who wipes your tears. The one who makes the tears flow, the one who makes the tears go. This is But those are two different things. How can two contradictory statements be, be centered on one word? They're completely contradictory. They're not synonymous in the least bit. So if we look at it like that, we see that the word Rudra is seen differently by the prepared mind, a mind that is emotionally mature, that has focused on karma yoga, that has let go of raga dveshas, and the accompanying transferences on Bhagavan, on authority figures, on Guru, and everything on the universe. The transference, which makes one remain perpetually a child in an adult body. That is the problem. The transference is a convenient way of just, pushing everything away so that I don't have to look at it because I put it on somebody else or something else. It's not my problem. It must be somebody else's issue. It's not my issue. So saying the person can afford to be an adult baby, a baby in an adult body, always lashing out, and always lashing out, always clashing, clashing and lashing. So lashing out against people and situations which are not conducive to that person's ragadveshas. As long as the world goes along with one's ragadvesha, that person is the happiest person in the universe. But the moment there is a questioning of anything, the comfort zone is, shaken about a little bit or a lot, but it doesn't take a lot. The person immediately responds by lashing out, as though that's going to make everything all right. So this shows a very insecure individual. And that is what is the baby, baby man and baby woman. This is what it is. A baby sitting inside and making decisions in the adult body. If the baby mind is in the baby body, then it's not a problem. You say, oh, this is a 2-year-old. Of course it will have a tantrum. What else can it have? You don't expect it to be rational. You don't expect the 2-year-old to be compassionate. You don't expect the 2-year-old to adjust to certain inimical situations. You adjust to the 2-year-old's ego. That's what you have to do. But what is confusing is that this 2-year-old, antahkarana, the inner instrument, is gone and locked itself inside an adult body. So you see the body and you think that there should be a corresponding mind, right? That's a normal assumption. That, when you see the adult body, it is weighing 10 stone and it is, 6 feet tall and it is standing there. And then you immediately think that the mind also must be corresponding to the adult body. Because that's what we see in nature. In the Prakriti, in nature, the same thing we see. The frog body corresponds to the frog mind. You never see a frog with some kind of, the mind of a tiger. No, frog body with a tiger mind you never see. Neither do you see a tiger with a rabbit mind, always afraid, always shivering, always hiding, eating grass. You'll never see that. Because that is, the Prakriti, the animals, and everything except human beings, they don't violate these norms of nature. Only in the human being is the consciousness so free that one is able to be conscious of oneself. One is free enough to be conscious completely of oneself, and one is free enough thereby to make judgments against oneself. And so therefore, what happens? Therefore, there is a lot of problems, big amounts of problems. And then so you find a adult body harboring a petulant child's mind, always lashing out. Yeah. And and the child is not able to, express itself in eloquent prose and all. That's why we have Twitter. You can keep lashing out. Every day you just put, a few tweets, and then everybody reads, and then it becomes a big escalated thing. That's what is happening these days. And then, it doesn't matter whether you are going to be holding a responsible position or not. Doesn't matter. You just, somebody hurt you, you just lash out. This is the kind of a mind that, surprise, surprise, even such a mind can be readied and cultivated for this knowledge. And that is what the next 2 lines are going to say. That's what they are saying. So the word Rudra comes in at the correct time. So it's a beautiful mantra. All the mantras are very, very apt here. So the word Rudra comes in at a crucial time, because whether I see Bhagavan as a source of comfort and help for me as an alienated devotee, notionally alienated, not really alienated because I'm not able to see how, see how I'm connected. So I can either see Bhagavan as that source connecting with whom and enacting that connection every day with whom I can overcome the alienation and the relative fear of the universe and of myself and of Bhagavan. So I can either see Bhagavan as a source of strength, help and connectivity, or I can see Bhagavan as the cause of all my problems. I'm afraid. And in that fear, I see Bhagavan as someone who is the cause of my sorrows. Doesn't matter that they are my own karma. Like I said last time, you don't get the neighbor's karma to, work out, to exhaust. You get your own karma. But the adult baby, the baby in the adult body does not recognize that. It's always feeling petulant, querulous. Querulous means complaining all the time, and feeling victimized. And victimized by what? By circumstances, by fate, by whatever it is. This constant victimization is overcome by bullying everyone. This victimization is a manifestation of deep insecurity centered on the self. And that insecurity is overcome by having a stance of bullying everybody, shouting at everybody, dismissing everybody, clashing against everyone, and lashing out against everyone. And unfortunately, everyone includes Bhagavan. And so the one who says, Rudra is the one who is giving me a bad time, who is giving me a hard time, needs to go to the school of emotional maturity, needs to go to KG, kindergarten, to understand a lot of things about how one train one's attitude and cultivate an attitude that is more in keeping with the reality, so that I can understand the reality of my own self. So that is one way in which, this lashing out and clashing against Bhagavan is one coping mechanism, which is very popular, in US politics right now. And then what is the other mechanism? The other mechanism is feeling sorry for oneself and having a pity party and having everybody come to that party, and then having a support group or not, doesn't matter, but commiserating. Again, it has the same profile. Insecurity, feeling victimized, feeling alienated, but when the first kinds of people explode in this alienation and insecurity, the other one implodes. The costs are the same, the damage is, similar, no difference. So here, the person feels scared, victimized, and then sees Rudra as someone to tremble with, fear from, and sees Bhagavan as this guy in the sky who is, out to get me, and the imagery is that of a warrior. This is an ancient, word, Rudra, and in those times they had, the quiver, arrows and bows, because that was the way to do this warfare. And if we had to imagine a Rudra now, probably it would be guns, drones, I don't know what else, but in those days that was it. So, the frightened devotee sees Rudra as a person who is taking the quiver, taking the arrow out of the quiver and, tightening it across the bow, drawing the bow, and then looking to see where to pull this arrow. And, in that line of the arrow, I am standing. Oh, please help. Don't do this to me. I'm scared. I'm insecure. I am, a small little fleck in this universe. Put your arrow away. Put your bow away. This is how the Shri Rudram, which is one of the holiest chants in the Yajurveda, begins. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya Namaste Rudramanyava Utota Ishave Namaha Namaste Astu Dhanvane Bahubhyam Utate Namaha. So, Namaha to everything. Namaha means my complete and total helplessness is at your feet. I'm surrendering without any residues. And what is this surrender? Om Namo Bhagavate. You are Bhagavan. So unto that Bhagavan, fourth case, Bhagavate, Rudraya, the one who is known as Rudra, the one who is causing me distress. Yes, my own karma phala doesn't matter, but I feel distressed by you. Because that karma phala, as I told you last week, is gift wrapped and given. And I don't want to open it, but it opens by itself, right in front of me. And so, namaste astu dhanvane. So not only namaha to you, my namaskars, my salutations to, the word namaha has many meanings, my salutations to the bow that is wielding that arrow which is targeted at me. Namaste astu dhanvane. And then what is, what is holding the bow? Your arms are holding the bow, drawn and looking for the target, which is really me. I'm trying to run, but it's not working. So namaha to bahubhyam, to your two arms that are holding this taut bow. And namaha to the quiver. Later it will say namaha to the arrows. And namaha to all the forces that are directing this arrow to come to me. So you see, so this is still a scared devotee. So whether one is a victimized devotee imploding in one's own fear of the universe and all its laws and how they are, including the law of karma, and how that is expressing itself in my life, or if one is a non-devotee, completely solipsistic, the navel-gazing variety, I am the best, east or west, and I am going to conquer all this, and it's all your fault, and, lashing out at everyone. Still, both of those show a baby, baby mind, a baby antahkarna, locked in an adult body. The mind hasn't grown up. And so what to do? Go to the next slide. That is what to do. So, Hiranyagarbham pashyata jayamanam. Jayamanam means being born. So being born, pashyata, pashyata. Pashyata means the one who is seeing. Seeing, the one who is seeing what? Being born. What is the one being born and who is seeing? Rudra, the seer, the knower of everything, is the witness. Witnessing. And what is this Rudra witnessing? Witnessing the birth of what? Hiranyagarbha. What is this Hiranyagarbha? Hiranyagarbha is the first, it's called Prathamaja, the first born. It's a potential. The creation is yet to take place, and and that Maya Shakti in in its nascent form, which is more in the form of a potential to create, that Ati Sukshma, the subtlest, what is that called? The subtlest change, as though change in Brahman, that shows that it is about to individuate. Bahusyam prajayeya, the one that is about to do that subtlest little change, that potential is called Hiranyagarbha. So the one who is not participating and becoming that change, the one who is an uninvolved witness of all changes, including the first change, the as though change. That's why all changes are as though, because on that Satchidananda, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, that Atma, that Satchidananda Atma, that self, which is now, enshrined as Ishvara, because when that self is invested with the ability to create, to sustain, and to resolve, the universe, it gains the epithet Bhagavan, Ishvara, God. And so therefore, invested with that power, and that power to create itself is is another name for Hiranyagarbha, that potential that comes forth before the creation. Hiranyagarbham pashyata jayamanam. So that Bhagavan who hasn't become the creation. That's why we saw the two words in detail last time. Prabhavascha and then what? Udbhavascha. So the one who is Prabhava, meaning who has not become the universe, who is still itself. And then Udbhava, the one from whom everything has come, as though. Because really speaking, what universe? What multiverse? And so therefore, this is how we have to see it. That the one who is witness of the creation. There are many meanings, two meanings at least we can look into. The one who is the witness of the creation, without participating in the creation, merely witnesses everything coming into being. That's wonderful. Because when you participate in something, what happens? You become part of it. Then you have to say what? Brahman has unfortunately become the Jagat. Oh, Brahman has become the Jagat? Yes. Then no more Brahman. There was Brahman. Brahma Asit. Kim Tad Brahma. What was that Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Asit. It was there. Now what is there? Jagat is there. Just like that. Earlier what was there? Milk was there. Now what is there? Yogurt is there. So the milk has become yogurt. So Brahman has become what? Jagat. No. Brahman is the witness. Witness again, you have to see it from the standpoint of, from the standpoint of the Atma, Sakshi, from the standpoint of the self. So witness means just because there is something to be Sakshya, witnessed, then only that epithet of witness comes. Left to itself, there is no witness. Yeah. So the witness which never becomes witless is what is Brahma. And so this Rudra, this Bhagavan, so we are not talking of just Satchidananda Atma. We are talking of Satchidananda Atma endowed with Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. So endowed with the ability to, that desire to become many, so to speak, and then that knowledge which can make that desire come to fruition, and then that ability to kriya, to actually manifest things. So that Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Swarupa, that Shakti, these three Shaktis are the repository of Hiranyagarbha, because that Hiranyagarbha is the first born, that first quickening, of some as though change that seems to be taking place. And is Bhagavan involved in the change? No. Is Rudra involved in the change? No. Rudra simply sits. Yeah. Simply sits without participating in it. In whose presence the change takes place. The presence itself is enough. The sankalpa itself is enough. No doing is required. Because if Brahman becomes a doer, then there is no hope for us. Because what is getting the samsari down is the doership. So if Brahman identifies as the doer and says, "Yo, what have I done? I shouldn't have, created this ISIS. Now look at what they are doing. Now what to do? And why didn't I think of this before?" No, there is no regret. There is no falling back on one's, abilities and saying I didn't do as well. No, self-disparagement is not there. No questioning is not there. No reversal of decisions, that is not there. Whatever ensues from Bhagavan is an infallible, creation. The only thing that is fallible is my way of looking at it. That is what is the fallibility. The fallibility rests not with the Jagat, but with my perception, or rather misperception of it. That is where the fallibility lies. So the Jagat is infallible because that which is infallible is the name for Bhagavan. So whatever comes out of that Bhagavan is infallible. And so therefore, this is not a Bhagavan that is second guessing itself and and doing something to some patchwork. Sometimes when you do some painting, you miss a spot and then everything dries, and so you have to do a little patch up job. Or you don't have the correct shade and you didn't get it in the market, and so you get something little lighter, darker, and some kind of a kriprimam patch up job you do. The universe is not a patch up job. It's not patchwork. It is, it is a that which ensues from the intentionality, from that itself, without needing for Bhagavan to do anything. Nothing is done. So Hiranyagarbham Pashyata Jagamana. So sees this potential to create the Ati Sukshma, come to light. It's the witness of that on the collective level. On the individual level, the Hiranyagarbha here is a beautiful mantra. On the individual level, what is the most sukshma thing? The mind. So that Bhagavan who witnesses the birth of the mad mind of the jivas, who internalize wrong things, who feel guilty all the time, who feel hurt, who feel insecure, who want to remain babies no matter how long they have been living on the universe, and who refuse to grow up. And so such minds, all the minds individually, collectively, and those minds that are expressing, themselves, that are the repository of ragadveshas, that is the repository of all the antahkaranic functions of the antahkarana, all of them, Bhagavan is witnessing. So the Bhagavan is witnessing this baby emerge out of the adult mind and have a tantrum. Much like Lord Krishna witnesses Arjuna's tantrum in the first chapter and at the beginning of the second chapter. And then when he does respond on the, in the 11th verse of the second chapter, he responds to the tantrum. But how does he do it? Sanjaya in the 10th verse of the second chapter sums it up beautifully. Tamuvacha Hrishikeshaha Prahasanniva Bharata. Prahasan, Prahasanniva means smiling, smilingly, uninvolved in the tantrum. Smilingly, Lord Krishna began the teaching. And that smile is important because that smile shows I'm not buying into your tantrum. I'm not buying into your klesha. Klesha means the unconscious. I'm not buying into whatever you think is going on because that's not what is going on. I'm not buying into your insecurity because you are not insecure, essentially speaking. Really speaking, you're not insecure. I'm not buying into all the excuses that you give people and you give yourself to be stuck in a certain rut. I'm not buying into your explanations for not growing out of your ragadveshas. In fact, I'm not buying into your ragadveshas. So therefore, you may be feeling that you are like a pakoda. Pakoda means some kind of a fried Indian snack. You are a pakoda frying in the hot oil of samsara. But that is just your wrong perception. Why should I buy into? It's almost like Bhagavan is saying this. Why should I buy into the wrong perception? Because if Bhagavan buys into all the wrong perceptions, then Bhagavan is not able to help. Is no longer the witness. And so therefore, Bhagavan is looking at all these mad minds reproducing themselves life after life after life. Same issues, unresolved. And even though they are resolvable, the person has not put the initiative to change. has not helped themselves even in the slightest way to change even a little bit. So what can Bhagavan do other than sit and watch? Hiranyagarbham pashyata jayamanam. Jayamanam hiranyagarbham pashyata. Witnesses this mind how prahasanniva. So prahasanniva means as though smiling, not making fun of the individual's trauma, shock, pain, unconscious, all the issues dealing with, but as though smiling. Because that is very important. Same thing. If you go to a therapist also, and if the therapist starts crying when you start telling your woes, in the beginning it may be flattering. Oh, maybe this is so painful, even the therapist is crying. But after a while, if you have to offer the box of Kleenex to the therapist and comfort them, there is something, terribly wrong. There is something horribly wrong if you have to do that, correct? Yeah. So, in fact, there is a role reversal here. The therapist has to be comforting you, but the therapist, has now the compromised emotionally, no longer can help you because the therapist is no longer a witness. He's not able to see the patterns. He's not able to trace where this might have emerged. And therefore, is not able to ask the correct questions. Like, what happened over here? When did you first feel this way? Do you have any memories? Do you remember this? Nothing. They're not able to ask because they are a puddle on the floor. Yeah. So this is, and Bhagavan is like a super therapist. Super therapist. Why? Because the therapist also has issues. Marriage counselor is effective. But, what? He himself or she herself is having trouble in her or his fourth marriage. Yeah. Because the therapist is eminently fallible. He has a little more insight, for a little while, from other than you, and is able to help you, that's all. But the therapist is not free of his or her own issues, which they are battling constantly. But not so with Bhagavan. With Bhagavan, that is not the case at all. Why? Because Bhagavan doesn't have a mind. Oh, Bhagavan has no mind. Bhagavan is mindless. Oh, then Bhagavan must be very stupid. Like those, Bhagavan must be very stupid. Like those small, brainless animals. Bhagavan's brains are compromised. It's a condition, called anencephaly. Encephaly means brain. So no brain. So no mind. No thoughts. So Bhagavan is like in a vegetative state with compromised buddhi, manaha, all these things. Bhagavan has no mind. This is the shock. How does Bhagavan, know? That is the beauty of it. It's a knowledge that supersedes or transcends the need for a mind. That is the difference between the Jiva and Ishvara, really. As though difference. Because in the Jiva, the knowledge is contained, as it were, within a certain receptacle. So therefore, you can only know so much. Most of which you forget anyway. So you can only know so much. If you know Greek, you don't know Chinese. If you know Greek and Chinese, you don't know some other European language. And if you know the European language, then you don't know this. If you know how to cook, you don't know how to clean. If you know how to do this, you don't know how to do that. If you know accounts, you are very poor in some other subject, some other discipline of knowledge. And this is the problem of the Jiva because of the as though conditioning agent, which is the mind. Antahkarana avachinna chaitanyam, that consciousness, which is the same as Bhagavan, which is free, which is satyam jnanam anantam, which is limitless, which is all pervasive, which is existent, that is me. But as though that Satchidananda has constricted itself to live in this small space called the tiny mad mind. In the tiny space of the body-mind complex, that Satchidananda has wriggled itself to as though fit this frame and as though fit the mind, and then hence it has as though taken on all the limitations belonging to the mind. It has taken on the ragadveshas while being totally free from the ragadveshas. How? Just like a piece of crystal, takes on, as it were, all the colors that you put behind that crystal. You put colors behind the crystal, and the crystal happily takes it on, takes it on, takes it on. But really speaking, the crystal is not red. R for raga, R for red. Yeah. And the crystal is not blue. Doesn't have the blues. The crystal is not yellow, not orange, not any color. Why? That is why it can uphold all the colors and colorations without taking on any one of them. And that Atma is you. But identified with this body, there are all kinds of issues. So therefore, Bhagavan can be the witness of your mind and all the minds coming into being, so to speak, because Bhagavan does not need a mind to be all-knowing, to be that all-knowing Rishati Janati Maharshihi, the knower of everyone and everything. Bhagavan doesn't need a mind because it's that knowledge that expresses itself limitlessly and is the only source of existence. And therefore, Bhagavan doesn't need a mind. Therefore, Bhagavan is completely objective, because along with mind comes core issues, comes limitations, as though comes ragas and dveshas, the raw materials for all the core issues, comes stubborn patterns, comes insecurity, ignorance, first of all. Because there is ignorance. And comes, self-judgment, I am ignorant, I don't know this, oh no, what have I done? Regrets, hurt, guilt, all these come whenever the mind is there. And so therefore, the one who is objectively is the witness of all the mind, uninvolved. Uninvolved doesn't mean aloof. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna teaches Prahasand Iva, with a smile, slight smile, playing upon his lips. Meaning, I'm not buying into your, all your wrong understanding of yourself. I'm not buying into that. I see your suffering, but you're as though suffering. And I'll teach you how this is just an as though, an appearance. This is not the reality. And since I know this is not the reality, I can afford to smile. I'm not laughing at you. I'm smiling at just the thought of how relieved you will feel when you too know this and enjoy this. And besides, you can't teach you are Satchidananda with a crying face. You are Satchidananda. It is not convincing. Neither can you put a happy face when one is feeling very sad and say, you are Satchidananda when you're angry. No. You can't fake it. Here is where you can't really fake it. One has to embody this knowledge, and Bhagavan does that without the need for an antakarana, which is full of constraints and constrictions, and as though limitations. And so Bhagavan is the incarnation of all knowingness and a knowing being, a being that is limitless, a knowing being that is limitless, is called Satyam Jnanam Anantam, and that is Brahma, that is Vishwadhipaha, that is Rudraha, that is also what is called Maharshihi. And the one that is looking at the sad selves, not the selves, the sad minds inhabiting this universe, and sees the unconsciousness come to light, sees the unconsciousness being formed. You see, this is very important, because we don't see, one doesn't see the unconsciousness because it's very ati sukshmatvat. Because it is so sukshma, one doesn't see the unconscious. One only lives to, to talk about its tales later on. Oh, why did I get so angry? Why did I lash out? Unconscious came out before the conscious mind, was able to stop it, talk to it. The conscious mind should be the sentry, standing at the gateway between oneself and the Jagat. But the sentry is sleeping. Why? Because the unconscious comes with such a flood that it just knocks away the sentry. And that's why it is difficult to see the birth of the unconscious. But Bhagavan is the witness of all that. The collective unconscious, Bhagavan is the witness of. And Bhagavan sees, and in fact Bhagavan bestows the unconscious. Yeah. Because the conscious mind is even easier to grasp. But the Hiranyagarbha here is the unconscious aspect of the mind, which is the repository of all the pains and sorrows. It in fact is the greatest gift. We can't just keep disrespecting the unconscious. It's a force to be reckoned with, and it's also Ishvara Srishti. It is a Srishti of Bhagavan. It's a creation of Bhagavan. It is a manifestation of Bhagavan. Within that, Bhagavan has presided over. So Bhagavan has permitted everyone to have the unconscious. Sarvesham buddhau ragadveshau vyavasthitau. In every buddhi, raga and dvesha, which is part of the unconscious, are existent, says the Bhagavad Gita. And so that is actually a gift. Why? Because when the hurt comes, and the child is small, the child is not able to process the pain. And, the child could die because it's not able to process the pain. It could just be very traumatized. But instead, Bhagavan as though comes and smooths over that pain, pushes it somewhere deep so that the child can just grow up and learn things and, grow up, because it doesn't have the brain to be able to process the hurts, to be able to process neglect, fear, abandonment, so many things, abuse of all kinds that every child goes through at some point or the other in time. And so the child doesn't have the wherewithal to process this, and it ends up, becoming too traumatized. And so Bhagavan as though puts, the hand and puts all these issues to dormancy, puts them to sleep. Yeah. And then what? Later on, that same Bhagavan kisses them, those issues, and wakes them up. Like Sleeping Beauty. All the unconscious mind is sleeping. And then what happens? Prince Charming comes. Prince Charming here is some trusting relationship comes. Some trusting, whether you have a friend that you can trust, or a significant other, or a spouse. And that in the light of that trust, the unconsciousness wakes up. Unconscious wakes up. Unconscious spews forth, raves, rants. And then what? Then I have already, told you in the beginning, when the unconsciousness either can spew forth, rave, rant, and that's why we have this device called Twitter. So you can rave and rant and spew forth in public anything that you want to say without even a modicum of restraint. You can do whatever you want. Or one can implode. One can implode, you rave and rant inside, and then, the body and the mind become host to all kinds of diseases, starting with hypertension, etc. This is what it is. And so these are the two. I mean, there are many responses, but they can be kind of incorporated into these two extremes in the continuum. Either you explode or one implodes. This is what the whole thing is. And therefore, this unconscious has to be handled properly, and without Bhagavan's grace, you can't handle it. Yeah, that grace is needed, and that grace has to be tapped in through surrender, through prayer, really. Why do I get so angry? There is a helplessness associated with the anger. That's what makes it a raw material for prayer, because prayer is the conscious expression of helplessness. That's how the prayer starts. All the eulogies and sahasranamas, everything okay. But those sahasranamas, those eulogies of 1008 names, 108 names, those 108 names, contain the names of all powerful, all, knowing and free from guilt and hurt Bhagavan. And what is that expression of? If I have to take that names, who is taking the names? The one who feels disempowered, the one who feels disrespected, the one who feels I'm not in charge, the one who feels I'm not everything, the one who feels I'm an idiot. That is the one. That is where the supplication works. That's why in the Hindu tradition we have a very, very, very sophisticated understanding of Ishvara, where prayer can be directed towards these core issues. It's very, beautiful. So when there is helplessness, then then there is the as the Alcoholics Anonymous, you have those steps. The third step is that acknowledging that there is a higher power in even in my addiction, even in my anger. I'm not here. Somehow it takes away the guilt and the spotlight, the negative spotlight on myself, the self-flagellating tendency all the time to be critical and judgmental. It's a respite. It's a relief, because I see the pattern here. I'm able to see the pattern when I surrender to the limitless. Suddenly, there is no more my unconscious. My unconscious becomes Hiranyagarbha, to be worshipped. It's worthy of worship because it's a manifestation of Bhagavan. Thank God there was this unconscious. Thank God it protected me for so many years so that I could grow up without becoming so bitter, embittered and disempowered. So that I can deal with it when I'm able to deal with it as an adult. How to deal with it? Through invoking Bhagavan as Rudra, the one who gives me trouble and the one who also ultimately wipes away the tears. Between the two, there is a little process of emotional growth. So this is what is required to overcome this unconscious, to overcome the very disempowering effects of the unconscious. I have to seek help. And I have to seek help and I have to get the grace of Bhagavan. How will I know how to seek help? Because some people seek help in the bottle, some people seek help in other, drugs and everything. Some people, may not be that extreme, but they seek help, so to speak, with all finite objects and situations. Malls, balls, movies and all kinds of things. And then still don't feel helped. Still continue to be frustrated. So how to seek that help? That also is a grace of Bhagavan. And that's why this mantra becomes a prayer. Look at the beauty of the last line. It's just so gorgeous. Sano buddhya shubhaya samyunaktu. Samyunaktu means may he join. Join who? Naha, us. May he join us. With what? Shubhaya buddhya. Shubhaya buddhya. With Shubha buddhi. Buddhi, usually the buddhu is praying for the buddhi. Buddhu means, compromised buddhi is called buddhu. So the buddhi is full of ragadveshas. The buddhi is always wanting to exact revenge or feeling extremely resentful, judgmental and upset with itself and with everyone else. That is called Ashubha buddhi, inauspicious buddhi. Shubha buddhi, an auspicious buddhi, is an objective buddhi that is able to see the world and that is able to see the situation and able to look at oneself, without pain and sorrow, without the influence of those ragadveshas. That objective buddhi is called Shubha buddhi. That ability to give the universe the benefit of doubt, the ability to stop lashing out and clashing with everybody and everything in the universe just because I'm not feeling well, and I'm not feeling emotionally well, so I'll make sure that you are also emotionally sick and the whole universe is emotionally sick because of me. This is not Shubha buddhi. This is what is called Ashubha buddhi. And and that is what Brahman is. Ashubhani nirachaste tanoti shubha santatim smriti matrena yat pumsam tad brahma mangalam param. This is a mantra that is chanted before the study of the Brahma Sutras. Ashubhani nirachaste. The one Spriti Matrena, by whose remembrance, by that Bhagavan who's just remembering that Bhagavan even once, all the Ashubhas, all the inauspicious things in the form of thoughts, in the form of potential for action, in the form of internalization, resentment, fear, lashing out, clashing with everybody, all these things. Nirachaste, the one that just sweeps all that away. Not only does, that's just the negative, but Tanoti spreads what? Shubha Santatim. Santati means the parampara of all the Shubha Ichchas. Parampara means a endless lineage of wonders, wonderful thoughts, wonderful actions, that which unleashes all the wonders of what this buddhi actually is ready to do, actually is endowed to do, is actually equipped to do, is to be in line with the teachings, with the vision of Vedanta, with the vision that one is, the truth, one is the whole, one is limitless, one is free, one is Bhagavan. And if you don't, if you can't immediately go that far, a buddhi that is able to see that it is connected to Bhagavan. That is the first step. That it is not away from Bhagavan. And then maybe it will go, as the knowledge comes, it will go to see that it is non-separate from Bhagavan. But first, at least that connection. A buddhi that very quickly sees that without this connection, I'm going to feel very sorry for myself and very upset. So I need this connection. A buddhi that craves this connection, that directs all the longings towards, forging this connection. That is what is called Shubha buddhi. Otherwise, it is Ashubha. When one is gossiping all the time, Ashubha buddhi, expression of Ashubha buddhi. The buddhi becomes a rumor mill, Ashubha buddhi. The buddhi is always chastising everybody around, Ashubha buddhi. The buddhi that is always, internalizing, I'm an idiot and let me beat myself and how long I have studied Vedanta and why it's not coming, and, Ashubha buddhi. And then the buddhi that is plotting, let's see how to bring that one down and how to cut this one to size and how to do this, all futuristic. How to dominate the world is samasic. Why to wake up? Why to do this? Why to do that? What's the point of life? Apathetic, depressed, Ashubha buddhi. And unrestrained, going everywhere and marauding all the sense objects along with the help of the sense organs. Ashubha buddhi. And then, so what is Shubha buddhi? Shubha buddhi is that which stops in its tracks. Screech, you come to a halt. Because everything that you've been doing, you see, connect is only growing. It's not, under control. It's not being managed properly. The disconnect between you and the universe, the disconnect between you and Bhagavan, the disconnect between you and other jivas, the disconnect between you and yourself. You want something, you go for something else other than what you want. You want the finite, you go always for the infinite and then cry. What happened? the disconnect between sadhya and sadhana, the goal and the means, the disconnect between everything, the pramana and the prameya, what you want to know and what means you are using to know this, everything is a big disconnect. And knowing that it's disconnected, knowing that there is something broken, in the way I'm looking at the universe, I'm looking at myself, I'm looking at Bhagavan, that is Shubha Buddhi. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Even to witness the imperfections is the starting point of Shubha Buddhi. Because it is Shubha. It is auspicious because I'm witnessing it rather than participating and reproducing the dysfunction. I'm noticing and stepping back and witnessing the dysfunction. That is Shubha Buddhi. So, may this Bhagavan Saha, may he, Samyunaktu join me with Shubha Buddhi, not with Ashubha Buddhi. Sanaha, not just me, it's a collective prayer. Sano Buddhya Shubhaya Samyunaktu, Samyak Yunaktu. From Yujit, may he join me with a proper Buddhi. Means, join here means endow. May Bhagavan give me the proper resources to be able to make sense of this mad mind, this mad universe, and the source of this mad universe. Because that universe looks mad to me. And the source of the universe also looks bad to me. And myself, I look mad to myself. That's because my vision has got a cataract of ignorance. So this is Shubha Buddhi, to be able to unentangle oneself from whatever is going on and develop the inner space to be able to just watch without reacting in the beginning. Shubha Buddhi. And how else will I get this Shubha Buddhi? Because if I'm ensconced in my Ragadveshas, some grace has to work overtime. And perhaps from the last life, some punya has to fructify. Or from this life itself, some punya has to fructify. Even for that thought, that Shubha Ichha to come, that Buddhi to harbor the thought that, I need to seek help, something is wrong. That is Shubha Buddhi. And that thought which has come in the form of a vritti is a gift of the grace of the Lord. And may that Lord give me this gift. It's not a gift that is dispensed like, chocolates in some, some Mexican thing that the children hit with a stick and the chocolates fall and some, on some child 10 chocolates fall and another child only 1 chocolate and the third child no chocolate falls. Piñata, yeah, it's not some kind of a hitting of that and it's a dispensation of grace. No, it's that connection of your own action, of supplication, surrender and the expression of your own helplessness, connects you to that which is the source of all help, connects you to that which is never, from which you are never disconnected. And that is what is called Shubhaya Buddhya Samyunaktu. Because, entangled as I am in my own Ragadveshas, I'm not able to see. I'm not able to see how to even step back. But something happens that I do step back. That is the gift of Bhagavan in the form of my own karma phala. Either prayers now or prayers from past lives or in the past have fructified into the desire to be free of being involved in this way with everything that is asat, with everything that is non-existent, with everything that is false, with everything that is unreal. I'm identified. So I'm getting a chance to disidentify from that. I'm getting a little perspective. And here is where I have to have the initiative here to go, to take this and run. Like the Olympic torch, they pass it on to the runners. And so you pass it on. You can't just sit there and wait for it to go out. You have to take that and run. Like this torch of Mumukshutvam Bhagavan has given a little opening through the looking glass. I have to go forth. Then only the creativity, my own Bhagavan's Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, all that is expressed in me, Jnana Shakti. I become an instrument, of Bhagavan. This is what happens because I'm aligned now with everything that is that what is. I'm aligned with what is. I'm aligned with Bhagavan. And so therefore I'm connected and aligned, and this is what I want. So may this Rudra give us all this wonderful connection. That's why the word Samyunaktu, even though endowed is the meaning, endowed here is actually that buddhi is already there. I am gifted with that Shubha buddhi, but I have gone away from it. That Shubha buddhi is Bhagavan within. It's that Hiranyagarbha, really, which is the first explanation, the one who is uninvolved witness of everything. So, from the unconscious mind, I'm able to step aside. That itself is a big, big grace, a huge, wonder, really. I'm going to take a few more minutes because no sense in putting this to the next class. So, that itself is a big blessing, a huge blessing. And in this blessing, what happens is that there is a shift, and that potential for that shift has already been gifted by Bhagavan. But if I let the tamas take over and say, nah, what mumukshutvam, Vedanta, Shmedanta, it's okay, I felt good, and I attended one class, it's enough. I don't take this on as a pursuit. That is a problem. That you cannot blame on Bhagavan because Bhagavan showed the way. And I have to now walk on that way. That is also Shubha Buddhi has to continue. And finally, the ultimate meaning of the word Shubha Buddhi is that a Buddhi that desires Vedanta. A Buddhi for which, the desire for Vedanta is not one of the last desires. In fact, it is the foremost and primary desire. A buddhi that is able to shift the desires, even if it's the last desire, to put it on top of the list. If you want to make a bucket list, put Atma Jnanam. That should be the only thing on the bucket list. Before Sharira Patanat Prak, before the fall of this body, let me have Atma Jnanam, let me know myself, let me have this knowledge that I'm non-separate from Bhagavan. That should be the only thing on the bucket list. Before the bucket is kicked, let me understand this. That is the only thing. Because really speaking, that is the only desire. And this desire, when it's not recognized, morphs into various desires and causes problems. And so this, let me have the grace to recognize this as the, if not only, primary desire. Let this be the primary desire in this life. That is the prayer. Very beautiful. Sano Buddhya Shubhaya Samyunaktu. The ultimate expression of Shubha Buddhi is a Buddhi that is committed to this knowledge, that does not take this knowledge lightly, and that does not just play with this knowledge a little cha-cha-cha dalliance. No. I'm committed because Bhagavan has already shown the way. So very, very beautiful mantra, which is in the form of a prayer, and very, very very nicely expressed. And then next week we will see which one to take next. Okay, in the 4th chapter. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions? Very nice to see all of you. Wonderful. Yeah, take care. And tomorrow I think we have same time, Kathopanishad. Okay? Om. Om.